Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough. Welcome to While You're Reforging. It's been a hot minute, so I totally understand if you are new to the channel or anything like that, you haven't seen this show. Basically, every Friday I try to do a live show where we just kind of hang out. It's more informal than my pre-recorded videos that I do throughout the week. And it's just a chance for me to get to know you, you to get to know me. And we're going to split this into a few different topics kind of as we go along. So we'll start with hobby progress, games played, things in the news, in the industry, and sometimes I'll have a main topic at the end. I've missed so much, quite frankly, because of travel and family and the holiday, the 4th of July here in the States, as well as just having streaming troubles. I did get some hardware to hopefully make the stream work better, so I'm really hoping that this will work out. If you guys caught it last time, it just kept crashing on me for no reason, and so I went and I got a external signal repeater to help kind of boost my connection, that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all ticky stuff. I don't have to worry about that. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is start off one segment. We're going to chat about it for a bit. And then before moving on, I'll open it up for full discussion, and then you guys can trickle in and answer as you wish, or just sit there and paint and listen to my dulcet tones. So, as far as hobby progress goes, I'll kick it off. That guy hey, buddy. And we have oh my gosh, that's a long name. OPTT Woodrow. There you go. Let's go to the downward cam here. And I think that should be plenty of light. Yeah, so I have a lot of stuff I want to show, actually. Like I said, it's been about 2 weeks between holiday. My birthday was on the 5th, and then we're seeing family that entire weekend, and then with the tech troubles I had before then. So here is what we got going on. So we have a set over here in the top left of these are Dragon Slayers by Para Bellum. They are for the game Conquest, which I've started doing content regularly here for on the channel. The Conquest community, if you just like fantasy games and miniatures in general, and you're not, specifically tied to the Games Workshop brand of things, which, is totally fine. Conquest is a game I highly recommend you check out because it is a ton of fun. And also, look, this is a dwarf, and this is a Chaos Warrior. If we put him so his foot's on his base, he's actually taller just as a dude, and I love it. Big, thick, juicy dwarves. Awkward sentence. Let's see. Hey, okay, we got some people trickling in. Hey, everybody. Hey. So, yeah, I've been building Dragon Slayers. I am going to make the switch from my Spires, which is the army I have been playing, to the Dweg home, and I'll talk about why in games played. But to keep it really brief, I think that these guys are more forgiving, and because I can get games pretty much weekly, but I think it would help me learn a lot faster if there was a little bit more wiggle room for mistakes, because my goodness, I got nut stomped. Okay, then we're panning over here, and I'm going to do a dedicated video about it, but this is my Slaves to Darkness army, which you may have seen before over on my social medias. See here we got the beautimous red and yellow checker patterns rolling over the plains of Akshi. We got sort of a Blanjitsu effect, at least that's what I was going for when it comes to the capes and how the white capes and that kind of stuff look. We have some Chaos Warriors here, as I showed you before, with their shields. Hey Doug, what do you have on that table on the left? I just mentioned these guys are Dweg home. These are dwarves from the game Conquest by Para Bellum. And if you want to check those out, I have an affiliate link in my description. It'll save you 10%. We're going to talk about what they look like when they're finished, and if nothing else, even if you just are sticking with Warhammer, the conversion possibilities with some of their models are incredible. So anyway, these are my Chaos Warriors, and then we have of course, why? Because I'm Doug and I hate myself. We have, again, another Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore, looking all fine like he do. The reason I busted these guys out is because originally I was going to do Path to Glory with my Stormcast Eternals. I had painted up. I showed them on screen. I was doing the Knights Excelsior, the white armored Stormcast chamber, because they're set in Gur. And I decided to pull back from that and do my Chaos Slaves to Darkness stuff for Path to Glory. And I did that for a really good reason. It wasn't just my normal hobby ADD, as many of you are well familiar with. So essentially, I played. This is gonna hobby progress and games played are gonna kind of bleed into each other today, so I apologize. But I played a game. I gave what is basically a demo of AOS 3.0 that went terribly. By terribly, I meant I made the mistake of assuming that my opponent had been keeping up on the rumors and the new points and all that kind of stuff. And so when we showed up, because he's very well connected to the 40k world, so I just kind of assumed, and that was bad of me. I gave a really terrible demo where I was making rules mistakes left and right. He was using the old points for Stormcast. I was using the new ones because I had that book and it just didn't click in my brain. And then we started playing. We're both playing Stormcast, and about halfway through the game, we realized that we are using two different allegiance abilities. Like, it didn't even occur to me that I was looking at the Dominion set, which is what I was playing, and there's like a little card in there that has like the allegiance abilities for Stormcast, and I misread it as that those abilities only affect Thunderstrike armor. So like the Dominion set, and I was like, oh, okay, he doesn't have any of those things because he's playing with AOS 1.0 stuff, and so I was like, okay, this only affects me, and so I was just doing that, but it's not. That I can't articulate it enough. But the War Scroll card that comes in there, it is the allegiance abilities for all Stormcast. Stormcast Eternals keyword bolded, and that makes a huge difference when your Gryph-hound does mortal wounds when it dies. And if you have, say, a pack of 6 of them that charge in and insta-kill. Why? Because they don't have a save. Now you're rolling a whole lot of dice on them. And so it was this weird thing where it occurred to me that I don't like having rules in advance, if that makes sense. The dissonance between like what I have been soaked in with AOS 3 rumors, and then the stuff that Games Workshop was kind enough to send me early, all that kind of stuff, it just kind of irked me. I mean, like, my opponent was awesome. His name's Steve. He's a great local leader for 40k and that kind of stuff. Wonderful guy. I irked myself by not being more aware of like the dissonance between what I know and what the common person knows. And I was like, that's not acceptable. That game was kind of a wash. I definitely goofed up on like 90% of it. We realized like turn 3, that we're like, none of this makes any sense. Like, the points were wrong, the battle plan was wrong, everything was just wrong. So we just kind of shook hands and we just kind of hung out and chatted for a bit. And it was a good day. It really was. It was a good time. He's an awesome opponent in person. I was just disappointed in myself, one of those kinds of things. So I was like, okay, rather than sulking, how can we address this? Right? I don't want to be at that same kind of disadvantage again. And so then I decided to go back and pull out my Slaves to Darkness, because they are a battle tome that's a little bit older. I would be receiving the FAQs at the same time as everybody else. Now, that a week has passed, the rules and points are for everybody out there. So, I mean, it's definitely like a much more stable environment. I just didn't like that feeling that I had when I was like, I can no longer communicate this to a person. And I got a little bit stressed. And actually, that's where I put the post on my my feed here on YouTube, where it's like, tell me your biggest mistake with a demo. I'm going to do a video about it eventually, but it was just one of those things that I was like, I'd done goofed up bad. So, to rectify that, I'm going to instead switch from Stormcast to my Slaves to Darkness for a few reasons. One, because Path to Glory was originally an all-chaos thing, and I just like them. I like them a lot. They're simple. They are very simple. So I think they make a good learning army, to be honest with you, because the synergies and the keyword stuff is paramount to them, but it's not like as esoteric or crazy as like, you get 54 fate points. If you have 55 fate points, you get to summon a monolith, and if you have 3 monoliths, you get blank. And it's just like, I feel like when I read Ossiarch Bone Reaper's rules, my eyes go crossed. I'm like, no, these guys are real simple. Are you a corn guy? Yeah. You're reroll to hit. Okay. So anyway, that's why I've been a little quiet when it comes to Path to Glory 2, is because I had that whole episode and I was like, I need to reset, back up, and kind of reprioritize. But I'm going to bring this whole section back into hobby progress, and I want to show you guys something. Let me pull it up here on my screen. Let's see. I have a dream. I decided if I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go kind of backwards into, doing chaos stuff, which I wasn't prepared to do, I need to make it awesome. And so I'm going to show you here. I have a mix of, what are they? Flagellants, poxwalkers, and some bits from Puppets War for different kinds of heads, and we're going to make creepy chaos cultist. I don't want to see a single one of those derpy Reagan era marauders. I know some people love them, and I'm sorry. I painted so many of them the last time I had Slaves of Darkness that I was like, never again. So I ordered 2 sets of these guys, poxwalkers. These are from 40k Nurgle, if you don't know. And a lot of the sci-fi stuff is very easy to clip off, or at least modify, so it makes a little more sense for AOS. Then you have some entire figures that they're just fine the way that they are. Like this guy, it's a wrench, but I can clip that off, put a sword on. This guy is literally just holding a rusty dagger. And basically my plan is to kit bash them with the Spire Tyrants set from Warcry, which is Slaves to Darkness kind of style. With their weapons and arms and all this kinds of stuff. In addition to that, let's see if I can find the head bits that I got, because I think they're quite cool. Heads. Okay, I promise I'll be real quick. I won't waste anybody's time. I just think that you'd actually like to see them. Yeah, so I got some of these. This is, I wanted something that was very reminiscent of the Chaos Warband from, what's it called? Mordheim. Where it's the possessed of the cult of the possessed kind of a thing. Let me move my chat so I can actually see it. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I have these kinds of heads coming in for a few of the conversions. Blood Reavers would totally work, absolutely. Hades says, let's see. So does that mean you're abandoning Stormcast Eternals for Path to Glory, or are you just waiting for the Battle Tome? Kind of both. I'm not touching them until the Battle Tome comes out, but even after that, I'm not sure. I don't know. I kind of just now that I've decided to put all this work into conversions and kit bashes, we'll see. I still want to have them because they do make a really great, straightforward demo army. So I'm not like getting rid of them or anything like that. It's just I want to ease up off the gas pedal. How about that? But the Spire Tyrants look so cool. They do, but I don't like any of the Warcry warbands in the game. Like, so I am somebody who loves the idea of taking the Warcry warbands, and of course I was like, oh yeah, I could do the Idolaters thing, which makes them battle line, and it'll be sweet. But then I looked at their war scrolls, and then honestly they're more annoying than anything else, which is just mediocre stat lines. And then instead of giving each unique character in a warband, because there are different kinds of models in every one of them, it would just be like, if this model's around, he gets extra blank. If this model's around, everybody gets to do +1 to wound when they throw their knives or something. But when you have 3 or 4 of those dudes per warband, it becomes a lot to keep track of, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So I'd much rather just make myself some cool cultists, and yeah. Brandon Tripp, don't stray from Sigmar's light. I won't for very long, I promise. It'll be good. But anyway, so that's all I wanted to show you. So I have these guys, and coming in this week, there's going to be more parts and stuff for those conversions. I will say that we're going to get into the FAQ and the list building stuff here in a little bit. But I would definitely say that Slaves to Darkness got a lot harder for me personally to build a 1,000 point list without Marauders. And that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. It just, they made Chaos Warriors go to units of 10, which is cool. That's how I like to run them anyway. But the problem is I have 15 of them painted like this. So I have 5 out. So I was like, oh, dang it. So I went on a buying binge, and I got the Kaga's Ravagers, which are like the Underworld's warband that has a few random warriors like this. 1 or 2 of the Spire Tyrants I'm going to use as Chaos Warriors. I got the Start Collecting box, which has the new versions of these, of course, and the Lord on Crackerjack. But yeah, so, I mean, in addition to these, I do have some more options. I have a painted War Shrine. Here's a, what is he called? What is this god called? Zinch Sorcerer dude. I am terrible at these names. And this is my converted Chaos Sorcerer Lord. I really don't care. Gaunt Summoner, that's his name. Don't care for the standard Sorcerer Lord model too much. So I went and I grabbed, this is one of the guys from the Gene Stealer cult line. I just put a bunch of junk on him to kind of make him look a little bit more holy. Got a little Nurgle backpack there. And yeah. Let's see. Doug swapping armies. I'm not actually swapping armies. I'm just choosing a different one for my little campaign because it makes working with other people who have similar armies a little bit easier. Question, do you know if Path to Glory games require Battle Line? I didn't see it in the Battle Pack. If it's not in the Battle Pack, then no, they do not. Let me double check. I got mine. Oh, you know what? I think mine is downstairs. No, it's right here. Sorry, don't mind me. Just talking to myself. That's pretty much my entire life now. I just sit in this room and talk to myself. Okay. Narrative play. Where's me battle pack? Nope. Path to Glory campaign is expanded upon the series of battle packs. Each Path to Glory battle pack is set in a specific realm. So, my understanding, just kind of based on this, is no right now. However, once they release the narrative supplements, you might. Let's take a look. There's your quests. Yep. Yeah, no. Give me one. I'm just gonna give it 2 more seconds here to look, but I'm not seeing anything. And then it goes into the missions, right? Oh, battle pack. Here we go. So no, nope, because it would be here listed as battle line options, that kind of stuff. All of those things are accounted for when you make your lists. So yeah, my understanding is no, you do not need any. Now again, this whole section makes numerous references to when they come out with supplemental, like, tiny books, I'm assuming, for campaigns for these things. They're going to be set in a specific place, and they're going to have their own battle packs, so that they might change that. So just kind of be aware. But my understanding is right based on the requirements that we have. Now, for me personally, I like to have battle line stuff. I mean, honest, with Slaves to Darkness, it's kind of hard not to, if I'm honest, because it's just warriors, knights, chariots, marauders, like all the things that you kind of want to take anyway are like battle line of Slaves to Darkness, which I suppose it's not even really a thing anymore. They're just battle line, but you know what I mean. But anyway, so I'm going to pause here at my hobby progress section, and I'm going to start waxing poetically, but I'd love to hear your guys. What are you guys working on? What's going on in your world? I'll keep the chat right here so I can read it. And yeah. Let's see. They said the 2 new faction books will update stuff as well. Yes, so my understanding is for going forward, all future battle tomes will have unique things for Path to Glory with the new system. So what I mean by that is it might have unique quests that are more personalized to the actual faction. You might have different ways of accruing glory, all those kinds of things. So I'm really excited. Ooh, knocked my lamp. Really excited to see what kind of things they integrate. How do they put flavor into the Path to Glory campaign? Because I do like what's in the core book, but they had to make it so that everybody with every faction could play it. So it ends up being a tiny bit vanilla. I could see if you really hammered Path to Glory games for like a month to 2 months, you might start to feel like you've done all you can do with the core book. But again, it hasn't even been out that long, so. Nothing really says much with restrictions outside points. Yep, and the stronghold limits. And that's a big limit too. Choosing your stronghold, it does max out how many units you can even have on your roster. Not even the number of units you take per game, but like if you can have only 8 units total, you have to have some of those choices be something smaller to be able to like fill in parts of your list. So I'd imagine that would be your battle line. I'm trying to get me a core box of set for Conquest. I'm so excited. Nice, that's awesome. Join us, one of us. Their Discord is quite possibly the most friendly place on the internet, by the way. Why did you swap to Dweghelm? I'll talk about that in games played here. Give me just a minute. I just want to see what everybody else is working on. Got some Ogre Maw tribes. Okay. Oh, got a slow grow league. Is it Brandon J Painting? Is that how it's said? How are you guys doing the slow grow? Are you doing the Path to Glory thing where you start at 600 and kind of escalate, or I'm just kind of curious. Just waiting for Dominion to come to get started with Path to Glory. Can't wait to take my Oryx on a path. Yeah, starting at 600 points. It's gonna be hard not to choosing Gordrak at the start. Yeah, Gordrak seems so cool right now. There's a lot of people have been talking about him online of just like they really love the combination of his healing abilities with the heroic stuff, and obviously the monsters being an absolute beast. I like it. Finish my endless bells of Tzeentch. Hey you, for my disciples army. Yeah, actually, we're gonna get into it with the FAQ stuff, but I was so heartbroken because I was looking at the new rules and I was like, oh man, what I want to do with my Slaves to Darkness army is grab a whole bunch of like allied wizards and bring in their endless spells. You can't do that anymore. Allies can't bring endless spells in, which is a huge bummer because I was like, I want the Tzeentch ones and I want the Beasts of Chaos ones because they sound rad. With increased costs, I literally have 5 dudes in my 1,000 point Stormcast list. I know, right? 3 heroes, 2 cavalry. Probably get wrecked, but it looks so cool thematically. Hey, you know, not if you wreck them first. I'm painting up a Vengorian Lord to hopefully use in Path to Glory. Nice, that's awesome. The Star Drake is scary. Yeah. Hobby Hero. Hi, Doug. I helped build and prime Dominion for a paint night and demo game for my locals. I've seen a lot of stores do that, and it's really cool. I'm thinking of doing a KO army, as my army, but I'm concerned a heavy shooting army will kill the fantasy vibe or be overpowered. You know, my honest thoughts on the Keratin Overlord book right now is if you're worried about that, you know, if you're worried about having like a negative play experience where you're just shooting people off the table, they do have melee options. They have melee options with the Balloon Boys, as well as, I guess that's pretty much it. Shooting is just a part of the army. It really is. There's no way around it. What I would say is, I do think Keratin Overlords is an army where you can very much easily take your foot off the gas. Meaning, if you're finding that there is a particular combination that just decimates your opponents before they get to do anything fun, there are enough options in the book to be able to kind of mitigate that a bit so you can tone it down. But I certainly wouldn't ever tell anybody, like, don't play this because other people might not like it, because that's happened to me, and I regretted selling my bone splitters the first time. Not the second time. It went to Jack, and he loved them. Jamie, I missed your question earlier. I'm converting this month's free Stormcast model with the spear into a vampire lord. Any conversion ideas? Nope. Not a single one. I don't ever come up with those things for anybody else. I want to see what everybody else comes up with. Surprise me. Do you think KO needs more boats? Oh yeah, I do. I honestly do. I would even settle for little tiny KO torpedoes that you have like a one-man team, or 1 to 2 man. Maybe have like them be like a flight cockpit where they're back to back, flying like a little torpedo thing, and their whole job is to just ram the F into everything else on the battlefield. I think that would be cool. Not to be like not kamikaze. Like I think they should be actual units that can do stuff, but I think that they should be melee focused ships is what I'm saying. Then I plan on painting the terrain pieces you recommended a few months ago. What did I recommend? Oh yeah, from the sets that I built. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm going to move into games played. Like I said, it's all kind of blending together. So I had my games played that I mentioned with the Path to Glory game that went because I totally messed it up. But because of that, I have a renewed interest and passion in my Slaves to Darkness. Then I played a game of Conquest with an awesome local guy named Aaron. And this is to answer that question from earlier, why am I switching to Dweghom? This is the story as to why. The Spires are a very specific playstyle where you're constantly... You have a few heavy hitters, okay? There are some tanky units within the faction. The overwhelming majority of them, though, are pretty, like, mediocre. By that I mean, it's kind of like if you're running a death army and you have lots of skeletons and zombies. Individually, those units are not that great. The fact that they can come back and be healed and manipulated and buffed to all the nines, that's what makes them good. Spires are much of the same way. They have a lot of cheap units. The Force-Grown Drones are, I believe, at least as of right now, the cheapest, like, infantry unit in the game that has any sort of staying power. And I didn't really care for that. They kind of came out to be a sort of a horde army. And if you know me, like, I love horde armies visually, but not actually playing them, because I always end up feeling like I'm using more time to pull models off the board than I actually am actively playing the game and engaged with it. So I've gotten beat quite a few times with my Spires, and it's just one of those things I can look online and I can see how people are doing well with them. And I understand how they play to do well. It's just not the way that I want to play. And so I've been having a lot of trouble with that, where it's just like they are an incredibly good faction with some stellar rules, just not really kind of bring it to the tabletop the way that I wanted to. Plus, there is definitely a learning curve. Like, there really is. The way that Conquest works is with something called draw events. I'm not going to get into it too much, but basically when certain units or heroes activate, the rule goes into effect. And they call it the draw event because you drew that card for that unit. And the Spires rely like ultra heavily on those kinds of things where you're manipulating the card deck and the turn activation and all that kind of stuff. It's very, I guess to use the Magic the Gathering parlance, it's a control deck. And so that's why you have all these little minions that you don't care about dying and big heavy hitters behind them, because you're controlling the flow of the game. And that is just a kind of play that, like, I can't do. You know, me, I like to run forward and punch stuff. So anyway, the reason I went with Dweghom, this little guy here, I like him a lot. One, the models are fantastic. I showed a picture. Actually, I don't know if I got a chance to really show it because my stream kept crashing. Hold on, I gotta find a picture that makes me extremely excited. Okay. So first of all, we have models like this. This to me is enough reason to get into the Dweghom. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you can't see what I'm talking about, they took a small dragon type thing, and it's actually on both sides. You can only see one from this angle, but there are these huge magma turrets, and then there's this dude, like Immortan Joe, just surfing this dragon as he leads people to battle. It is, to me, it's like Lord of the Rings meets Mad Max, and I'm here for every square inch of this model. I love this thing so freaking much. And it's just one of a few different models I want to show off here. Again, this is feeding into my games played, because when I played with Aaron, I just realized the Spires, just their playstyle really wasn't for me, and so we were chatting about other factions that I really might enjoy, things that are a little bit more forgiving, but also have flavor to them. And so Dweghome was at the top of that list for me. Also, the Wadroon, the new orcs that they have, are also extremely cool. But the Dweghome also have these guys. And if that picture isn't really showing through, because I wish they had taken some different photos for them, but these are dwarves with magma cannons on their arm, like the Predator. Like, you know how the Predator has like his little laser cannon affixed to his shoulder? Same concept. And that is the most ballerific thing that ever existed in the universe. And I just wanted to show that off, because like, yeah, between this and the other model, I mean, they just have some of the coolest miniatures out there. These are Dragon Slayers. They are a brutal melee unit. This is what's on my table right now. I just have the torsos assembled. But they are brutal. I got a chance to see them. Essentially, imagine in AOS, because I know that's what most of you guys play. Imagine in AOS if there was a unit, let's say Ironbreakers, right? I mean, they're small, you know, they still have one wound, a little bit slow, but on the whole, they're fairly tanky for what they do. But imagine if they had Rend 4, right? Where, yes, they're expensive, they're a little bit elite, hard to get into position, but if you do, your opponent is like effed. And that's exactly what these guys are. And with Conquest, there's not nearly as much shooting and long-range threat projection to kind of stop them from getting places. They're matched because some factions have fantastic defense and can kind of weather that storm. But on the whole, these guys are insanity made manifest, and I am here for that. So I just wanted to show that off, because I think that is, quite frankly, one of the coolest things that has ever existed. Between that and the fire drake with like cannons on either side, oh man, I love it. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I missed a thing earlier. Cody Griffin dropped $5 into the tip jar. Thank you so much, buddy. Hey, good to see you. Are you taking part in Animosity 3? I am. I joined the Dornyar group, which they're like the satrap of scribes and scholars and things like that. Because my backstory for my Slaves to Darkness army is that they're Cabalists and they're constantly searching for new tomes and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. And then Wargamer Willie as well. Thank you so much, buddy. The Conquest lore has been amazing. Loving all the content. Thank you so much. Always so friendly and generous. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Skywatcher Adept, I can't convince myself to get into Conquest lore models. That's totally fine. That's fine. I'm not here to I don't know. It's their game. You know, if you don't like it, don't do it. It's the same thing I tell people when they like spend an hour ranting about how much they hate Games Workshop and that kind of stuff, where it's like, you don't seem to like this, so just find something that you do like. Something that makes you happy. And so if Conquest is not that, don't waste a second on it. You know, I mean, that's all there is to it. Life's too short for that. Let's see what else. But that was basically it for games played. I just did, the game with Steve. That was my terrible Path to Glory or AOS 3.0 demo. And then Conquest, which I had a fantastic game. We're working with a store locally to get like a regular game night set up for it. But other than that, just kind of in the middle of switching factions and having a good time doing it. So, yeah. Let's see. Now I think it's time to move into the news. Let me pull my stuff that I had up here. I rant about GW because I love AOS and just abhor their business practices. Sure. Sure, absolutely, and it's fine if that's what you want to do. Honestly, I'm not somebody who would waste a minute doing that, but I understand that people aren't like me. I want to show one more thing, actually, and I apologize. This is Conquest related, even though we just talked about how someone doesn't like it. This, because does fall under news, and these models are the Wadroon Warbred. This is their version of orcs. They're super crazy, and these guys are massive. They actually, Para Bellum was kind enough to send me a set. And this is actually useful if you're very curious about how their plastics work and that kind of stuff. You can see that big old beefy arm. Not many parts to them. A lot of little dangly bits and that kind of stuff that you can choose and customize. One of the things I will say, though, is that if you are interested in making a custom demon prince, this kit is perfect. Like, between the arms that have a mix of like scales and like rough leather looking skin, it's all weathered up, and the hands, one of the things I like about it is the rocks are not molded to the hand, so you can sculpt whatever you want. You can put AOS terrain in their hands if you can, get their fingers to lock around it. The conversion potential for these guys is massive, and I think that is quite cool. So here's what they look like finished. You can get a sense again, one more time. Their hands are not molded to any of these rocks, so if you see a position or like a general body pose that you like, you can probably convert that to be whatever you want him to be holding. And if you throw like a bloodthirster head or something on there, I think that they would be straight nasty looking. I think that would be so cool. So anyway, let's see. I'd be interested in the narrative campaign, but all my hobby progress would be with my Stormcast, and their lore is already tied to other realms. Well, Brandon, it's, when it comes to animosity, if that's what you're talking about, then I would definitely say the animosity stuff is not meant to pull your army from its current story arc to wherever, someplace else, and reset them. It's that your army branched out to help a couple of people who are already in trouble in the realm of light. So you can take your army with your story anywhere you want. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, yeah, so thank you, Para Bellum, for sending me some Warbred. They are incredible looking models. And I will absolutely... The guy on the left looks cool, right? Let's see. Okay, we're going to move into news. Let's go over here. So, I'm going to make this one very brief. Army Painter put out an ad that is mostly nothing except for... I don't know if you caught that. Basically, they are unveiling a new line of air paints. So we have air primer, a few different, I'm assuming, of their colors. My understanding is it's going to be the paint match color, that kind of thing. I'm not going to lie. I hate these kinds of ads where they don't really show anything, but my golly, if you are using an airbrush or whatever, which I'm told every hobbyist should, even though I don't use one myself, I don't care. There you go. I don't know. I just try to keep up with industry news. So Army Painter has their own brushes coming out. And because I missed it, I'm going to breeze quickly through the Dominion celebration online. And what isn't there to celebrate? Because they didn't sell out of them like every person on the internet said they would. And they still got them. So if you want Dominion, go grab it. The first thing that they... Hades, yeah, I'm the same. More of a spray paint guy. Also, I'm going to skip this song. This is quite terribly annoying. What if we just put all of the highest pitches in sequence? Is it still music? And everyone's like, no. Okay. So here we go. So we have our Dominion preview. They showed us the covers of our new Stormcast Eternal and Auric War Clans book. Interesting to me that it's not Cruel Boys. It is a new Auric War Clans, and I found that to be quite interesting. I was really expecting there to be like a separate Cruel Boys book that worked with the War Clan, but nope. So anyway, I just that's all. That's all I got for that. It's just, you can see the new binding. We're going with red now, which is super cool looking. We have this guy, DMX Reforged. I like him quite a bit. He's one of my favorite miniatures that they've put out recently, where he looks... I like when heroes look like they are in motion, right? He looks like he's walking towards somebody else's death, you know? I was never a huge fan of, like, when there's just a hero just kind of standing there, like, just kind of looking around, waiting for a bus. But things like this and Gardas, where it looks like they're in action shots, I think are really quite cool. So, let's see. Got some cool pictures of him here. I do really like the beard motif on these things. I want to see... I don't know how to word this. I want to see more female leader models. I think all we have right now is the Knight Arcanum in the core set. I don't know. There's probably more down here, but basically, I want to see the same level of detail in the ornate armor. Just show me some different, you know, Grugny themed heads, but for females and that kind of stuff. I mean, they could also wear beards. That's totally cool. Do your thing. But that's about it. So we're gonna move here. Then we have our Knight Relictor in the continuing theme of redoing models that came out in the first edition. Instead of the Lord Relictor, which is carrying around a small coffin full of dead bones, this guy is rocking a Star Soul Mace. He looks like he is ready for a party. I love him. For me, I tend to really like prayers and that idea of like beseeching the gods in the battlefield more than magic specifically. So like this is a thing that I will absolutely have in my Knights Excelsior army. And again, I'm bringing that up because I'm not getting rid of them. And actually what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to have the white armor, but for all of the heroes that have like a magic or a faith element, I've been doing like a maroon using what is like Baraknar Burgundy or something like that, one of their newer colors as the base to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. But very, very pretty. I think this is a way better looking one than, say, the Lord Relictor, but that's just my opinion. And then we have the Vanquishers. Vanquishers being, of course, two-handed sword wielders. My assumption is they'll probably... I would love it if they went the route of kind of like lifting some of the rules from the High Elf Greatswords, or whatever they were called. What were they called? Someone tell me, I can't remember their name, but the High Elf guys with the two-handed swords, where basically they could spin the sword so fast, Swordmasters, they could spin the sword so fast that they could deflect arrows, which is just like ridiculously cool. They're just like walking up the battlefield like John Wick. It's just like, it's not that we dodge bullets, it's just that we don't let them hit us. And they're just like, fling, 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 fling. I love it. This is some easy listening while playing Fallout. What Fallout are you playing? I'm curious. I love Fallout. I was definitely about to jump into their miniatures games by Modifius. And now we have one that I am not a huge fan of. Okay? I'm going to split this up. I'm a huge fan of the models. The name is the Vigilors. I don't know why that name bothers the ever-loving hell out of me. Like, if they were called the Vigilants, like, you go Vigil and then A-N-T-S, Vigilants, I think that would look cool, but Vigilors, I don't know. I don't know why that just doesn't roll off the tongue very well. But they're incredible models. We got some cool looking Stormcast. I like the way that they do the kind of billowing capes and that kind of stuff much more than some of the Sacrosanct Chamber stuff. I just think that they look rad. Action poses aplenty. I'm confused about their role. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully their role is like Castigators round 2, which is just like, let's take this unit that nobody uses and just take a second shot at it. Pun intended. Let's see. Bets on Vindicators having one-handed swords and shields, so they most definitely aren't better-looking Liberators. Interesting. Because GW can copyright Vigilor. Fair enough. I mean, that's a totally reasonable reason. Nuka World DLC. Yeah. I play 76. I'll play 76 with the Pretentification. It's tons of fun. Okay. Anyway, I like these guys quite a bit. This is probably the only model I'm not a fan of, to be totally honest with you. I think I would do a helmeted option, because all the other unhelmeted ones, they all look like they're looking at something or doing something. But then there's just that lady who's like, again, I always use the expression, looks like she's waiting for a bus. You know, she's just standing there. Whatever. But yeah, we're going to scroll down here. So that's them. And then this one caught me by surprise. So we have a box of Annihilators. Now, one of the things that was brought up in my Discord, which you can find a link to down below, is there was a lot of thought that the kits that we got in the Dominion set were just going to be boxed up individually and sold. So they would be completely monopose. The 3 Annihilators that were in that set were the Annihilators that you were going to get. And I said, I don't think that's right. Like, I mean, of course, you know, for every model I can point out, yeah, they went and turned that into a full kit. There's a bunch that they didn't, because they're very inconsistent about what they turn into multi-part kits and what they don't. But they did for these guys. So the Annihilators are going to be their own box with some weapon options and different poses. I think the poses are necessary because the 3 you get in the core set they can be a little bit static. I mean, one guy has the shield down on the ground with his hand on it, and I do like that quite a bit. But yeah, so I think these look absolutely stellar. I'd be curious to see them with more weapon options if they're kind of going to go the route of like Paladins, where it's like the Paladin kit builds 3 different forms of Paladins. Yeah. Pretentification. Big dudes are great. I wish they had their own chamber. Oh yeah, if Sigmar unlocks the leg day chamber, like where it's just all the thick boys just chilling, this guy's got a bear for his body plate instead of a lion is a lot of what Sigmar stuff is. I love it. Oh yeah. The Swole chamber. And then we get into the Cruel Boys, or just Orc War Clans, I guess. And these guys are pretty stinking cool. Now, one thing that they did with this range that I did not expect is they leaned very heavily into the monsters. And I really expected them to lean more towards infantry and shooting, you know, because they're tricksy kinds. But no, they went hog wild on beasts. And I just look at each one of these with the eye of thinking, that could be a really cool war shrine. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm still not tempted to play them. But I do think that they are really cool, and I do think that they bring something wholly unique to the Destruction faction. So I like that they exist in the game. I just don't think they're for me, model-wise. Every once in a while, there's a bit that I'll look at and I'll be like, I love that. But then I look at the whole model, I'm like, eh. Like, for example, this helmet. I love this helmet. It looks very, how am I trying to word this? Silent Hill horror kind of thing. But yeah, so we have that guy with his monster. There's a version of this beast where he doesn't have a helmet. Like he's not, but I don't know why you would ever take that. I guess just to separate if you have multiples. And this alternately builds the Snatch-a-Boss on Sludge Raker, which is the best name ever, the Sludge Raker. Yeah, no, this model I will say is cooler than the top one. What is that guy? Yeah, he's a boss, right? Swamp Boss. And then this is the Sludge Raker. This whole arm setup where he's got the tri-hooked grapple with a chain around it. Oh, man. That's so cool. This is truly an amazing kit with just the bits. You know what I mean? Like, it's a converter's paradise. And then whatever is going on here. There's also the Marsh Crawler Sloggeth. And I'm kind of curious as to how big this actually is because those are grots on there for scale. I'm actually quite curious. I'm looking at this beast that they're riding, and I feel like I get some strong BDSM vibes that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with. Like, Just because the other guy, he looks like a creature that is meant to crawl. Short back legs, long front legs. Like, he looks like he would be prowling, you know, kind of lurching forward. This looks like a biped that was just kind of forced onto its feet. And it's just a little bit rough looking. Like, I don't know. Hopefully no one attacks him from the mud flat back. I don't know what's going on here. I don't quite care for it. I mean, but even then I could see, well, I don't know if I would say that it's as big as, like, I don't think it would be big enough for a war shrine. I mean, I love that it does have a nice level top where you can put pretty much anything on it, but yeah. You have to appreciate how the Cruel Boys take care of their mounts. They all have back pillows. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're buddies. I don't love it. Yeah, I do love the first one. Like, as crazy in love as I am with this specific model, like in this variant of him with the chain and the hook and all that kind of stuff, I'm just like, not feeling it for this guy. And then we scroll down, and then 2 of the Cruel Boys units from the Dominion box set are also getting separate releases, and their kits include loads of assembly options. Sweet. So we have Gut Rippers. Okay. Now, I will say these are the orcs that if I was going to like Cruel Boys, I would use the most. I like the helmets. I like the kind of tattered clothing. The shields for sure are a huge throwback to old Warhammer art from John Blanche. The patch on his eye, I like that. I have nothing negative to say about this kit. I do like it. I don't know. I don't know why the Cruel Boys, their faces to me, they just don't ring true for orcs. They seem very Tolkien-esque, and that's totally fine because they're cool. I don't know. It was just one of those releases that, like, it wasn't for Doug, and that's cool. I'm excited to hear other stories, though. And then we have the bolt thrower guys. What are they called? Man Skewer Bolt Boys. What'd you do today? I skewered a man. Let's see. Oh man, these guys are just rad. I have nothing negative. These and the other basic boys, I'm just like, these guys are just awesome. It's just straight win. I think the short story Cunnin even teased new Gordrak level character model for the Cruel Boys. Interesting. I'll check it out. I've been honestly very disconnected from online lately, so it's, yeah. I apologize for that. I heard somewhere those goblins looking beasts on all fours, like, unnaturally fast, kind of makes them gross and cool. Oh, that would be gross. It would be cool for sure. I don't know if I want to take a block of these in 10s or 20s because of the Dominion box doesn't have the command option for the units, at least for the Cruel Boys side. Doesn't have the command option. Oh, there's no leader in the unit? Is that what you mean? Because I think, well, that's a banner. I'm not sure I fully understand Hades, but go ahead and let me know if you want to re-explain it. So anyway, here's the Dominion release. I think on the whole the models are stellar. I love all of the stuff for Stormcast. The Cruel Boys stuff, I love. Here's my thoughts on Cruel Boys, okay? To be totally honest with you. I like about 30 to 40% of the models, but I like them like so much, so freaking much. I'm over the moon about their basic orc boy here. I absolutely love this model. I would want 5 of them. You know what I mean? Like, I like the arrow boys that they have that I showed down below. I love those models so much, but the rest of the faction that you would probably need to create an entire army, I'm very meh on, which is a position that I've not really been in, where I hyper love just a few models from a range, and the rest of it I'm like, meh. Most of the time I kind of take it or leave it as a whole when it comes to armies. So I don't know. I mean, it's cool. I love this guy. He looks rad. But yeah, maybe I should just put a Chaos Lord on top of him somehow or something. That would be pretty cool. Chaos Lord on Sludge Raker Beast. I like it. In the Dominion box, there is no banner or musician options for the Cruel Boys Gut Rip. Is interesting. Well, huh. That is an interesting idea. I didn't think about that. I would probably only do gut repas with longer the spears if they have them. War Shrine would look awesome on a Sludge Raker, for sure. Oh, hey Doug, happy belated birthday. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, my birthday was on the 5th. I'm always tired on my birthday because rednecks are firing off fireworks until 1 a.m. What's your opinion on Kragnos and his design? I'm offended the God of Destruction is so beastman-y. I'm offended that beastmen are so chaosy. Of course, not genuinely offended. Yeah, same here. But he's cool. I think he looks destruction-y. Okay, so now we're going to chat about the FAQs. Again, today's episode, I don't have a main segment because I was away from my computer for some very important things that came out. So we're just kind of working through them. I actually want to touch on this last. The one thing I do want to touch on, because it's much shorter, is the War Scroll Builder. If you didn't know... Hey, thank you guys so much. If you guys didn't know, they did update the War Scroll Builder to the new edition. They are not updating the app. So I would encourage everyone, go unsubscribe from Azure War Scroll Builder on your phone so that you're not getting charged for content that is out of vogue. But yeah, go ahead and do that. But this is the way that we can build lists for right now. And there are, I'm just going to throw this out there, some entries missing and some things that need to be cleaned up because this was probably done by one intern who worked furiously hard and cried for about 3 weeks straight. And so stuff gets missed. Don't be a dick about it. Just email them and be like, hey, listen, can you fix blank? I know for Slaves to Darkness, wasn't there a... I remember at one point we couldn't ally in... Oh yeah, there's no allying in Slanesh right now. That's it. So it's like, you know, it's just someone has to go in and type that in. So don't be rude about it. Send them an email. But that being said, I have found this to be an incredibly useful tool. By that I mean the layout looks the same, but it's a little bit deceptive where you have your heroes, artifacts, triumphs, all that kind of stuff as normal. But you also, it does keep track of how many reinforced units that you are using. And the thing that I wanted to explain, because it was tripping up a lot of people, is this thing about additional enhancements. So if you didn't catch this, when you take a core battalion, you can oftentimes get access to an additional enhancement, okay? To do that, you have to go down to the core battalions, click on whichever one you want. We're just going to do Warlord, for example, and it's going to give you the mandatory minimums and the optional units. And then if you go down to enhancements, you can add one. So this would be, let's take an extra artifact. You don't have to do anything here, but if you scroll back up, it will basically help you figure out, okay, I took an additional enhancement. I chose to take as an artifact. This way you know you're not leaving any optional enhancements on the table. Like if you have access to more than you're actually taking and so forth. So I thought that was really cool. Right now there's a glitch. If you include battalions, you can't save the list. I did not know that. I had a weird thing happen to me yesterday, and that's probably why. And I think it has something to do with that interaction that I just expressed. But yes, so it is a little bit awkward at the moment. What I would suggest you do is build your list without any battalions or enhancements, you know, on this sheet. And then when you print it, or, you know, you digitize or however you do it for your list or whatever, write out, you know, because you can still put these guys into battalions and you can just put, like, I don't know, the number 1 or letter A or something like that. And then collectively it can be very clear who belongs in what and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it needs some polishing. You know, I like the fact that they got something out there for us, though, because I understand that, like, events and stuff will need the nitty gritty of, you know, what unit is in specific battalions and all this kinds of stuff. As players get more access to things and there's more granularity about who's in what, totally understand. That is very important stuff. I'm not downplaying that. But honestly, for the purposes right now, when we're all trying to figure things out, just keeping track of points, the units you have access to, and counting up reinforcements and that kind of thing, it helped me quite a bit. And so this is kind of where I got myself into a pickle where it's like, I find it very difficult to list build for Slaves to Darkness right now just because they moved warriors to 10-man units. But I will be doing a bunch of marauders and that kind of thing, so I'm excited about that. Is a Dragon Ogre army viable since the update? Well, let's see. I don't actually remember their war scrolls. This is what I spend my entire day doing, y'all. I just look up Games Workshop. They got better because they definitely count as more models on an objective, so that's huge for them. They're not monsters. They do have a hero, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. That's great. You know, I'd have to really take a good hard look at the Beasts of Chaos battle tome, and I don't have that handy right now. It's downstairs. I would definitely say they got better. That's all I can say. The fact that they can now actively play a little bit more in the scenario game is instant better. You have fewer units that you're going to want to use command abilities on, so it makes them more command point efficient, I would say. Mystic Shield works on any of the units very effectively. Yeah. You know, now that we have such strict modifier rules for hit and wound, rerolling ones on a 3-up to hit is not bad at all. So, yeah, I think they got better. How about that? I can't tell you if they're like a whole list of them is... I've never been a fan of the word viable. It's not an embryo, but you know what I mean. I always think of Jurassic Park when the guy has the shaving cream canister. It's like it can keep 13 viable embryos at all time. You know, all this kinds of stuff. And it's like this big plan. And then we use it in wargaming. I'm like, I don't know. If they become battle line with a Shaggoth general, maybe. Yeah, I could absolutely see, if you want to focus on Dragon Ogres, I could absolutely see filling up your battle line with like minimum squads of, I don't even know what, Ungor Raiders, to be honest with you. Like, even if that's what you had to do, and then the rest of the list is just Dragon Ogre themed, and you can model it so like your Raiders are like the slaves of the Dragon Ogres and they use them as servants or whatever. You know, but at that point, it's just 3 units of 10 little dudes to fill up your battle line and everything else. And I mean, and they do work because Raiders can offer range support for these guys to plink off hopefully a wound here and there. So I really think that that would probably be the better idea, but that's just off the top of my head. I would need to see it play out. Not to mention the fact that these guys are 8-inch move, which is pretty great. I'm a big fan. Going fast is my jam. Is Everblaze Comet worth taking anymore after the FAQ? Okay, yeah, let's move into the FAQs. I just wanted to go through that little thing of like how enhancements and that kind of thing function in this and how it counts reinforcements. I just wanted to say that it's up there. Go play around with it. And if you have any issues, submit it to Games Workshop politely. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's just one guy weeping over the amount of work he has to do. I'll take one more comment here before we jump into the FAQ. Doug made a couple of Hark Huron lists centered around an Order Sempentis force. It was based off an old battalion called the Ebendrake War Host. The unit choices fit in the Battle Regiment and Linebreaker. Nice! Isn't that cool when it all kind of fits together? Okay. So there's a few that I want to specifically pick out. I will be so honest with you. I did not read every single one of these. Why? I don't care enough. I'm just going to throw that out there and be very blunt about it. I've never been somebody who's claimed to like master every single faction. We'll pull up the Stormcast one because somebody talked about it. Yeah. So let's see what other ones. I actually want to see the Gloomspite Gits one because that's an army that's been interesting to me. Okay, so the core rules. Things from the core rules that really stuck out to me is they made it very clear you cannot, allies cannot bring in their own endless spells. That has to be part of their faction. That's a bummer to me. Real big bummer. I wanted to give GW more money for endless spells, but they said nay. That's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about the orcs. Nothing changed. I think they were just like, they got a book coming out. Who cares? What are they going to do? Whine for 3 weeks? You know, that's basically it. They don't even have any endless spells. And a lot of this, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to divide the core FAQ into roughly a third of it is completely legitimate questions. And some of it is, what's a model? You know what I mean? And they have to answer that because someone asked it. And you're just like, what are we doing here, guys? You know, some questions like, if two different abilities double or halve a value, is the value doubled or halved? Twice. And those kinds of things will happen. And that's a totally legitimate question. I'm trying to find a good example of a dingus question. Let's see. No, I should have had it pre-planned out. But anyway, so there's just a whole bunch of those things. I like that their FAQ gives examples, though. That's a great way to do stuff. Let's see. Pile in wounds, returning slain models was a great call as far as like bringing models back. Can't take more than one sub-faction. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, here we go at the bottom. Can I include endless spells, invocations, and faction terrain features in my army, even if this is not specifically stated that I can do so in the instructions? Yes. But then right above it, can I include endless spells, invocations, and faction terrain features from an allied faction, or a faction from which I can include in a coalition? No. Which I feel like that should be separate. I feel like terrain should be no. Endless spells and invocations, yes, but that's just my opinion. I'm going to scroll back up. That's pretty much all I have for the core rules. A lot of this is just clarifying this. Oh, this is a fun one that it gave Shu over on Rerolling Ones a nosebleed. Say I set up a unit wholly within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield, and there is an objective set up within 12 inches of the edge of the battlefield. Can I set up my unit so that's within 6 inches of the objective? Answer: yes, because you are finishing the toe end of your model at the exact immeasurably small point that is 6 inches, which is within 6 inches of the objective. Now, the problem is, though, is that with the new board size, everything is based 11 inches off the table edge rather than 12, is my understanding. So it's just kind of a funny thing of like, you're asking a question that didn't need to be asked. But yeah. Too long, didn't read with most of them. It's basically just all clerical changes, some nerds here and there, war scroll adjustments, endless spells. Yep. Yep. Okay, now it's going to move into the ones that I actually spent time looking at. Oh no, I didn't mean to do Wrath of the Everchosen. I was trying to find the Slaves to Darkness one. That's what I was looking for. Aha! Okay. Now, I am someone who does not often gripe. The only thing about the Slaves to Darkness one that I am not a fan of is they didn't give coalition rules to include Beasts of Chaos. If you noticed, the god-specific factions, so Hedonites of Slaanesh, Disciples of Tzeentch, Magcan of Nurgle, and Blades of Khorne, all of those armies have coalition rules which allow you to bring Slaves to Darkness units and Beasts of Chaos units and take a mark and do that kind of stuff. What I wish, and what kind of bummed me out that they didn't do, was make a coalition thing where Slaves to Darkness can bring in Beasts of Chaos, but then feel free to like choose a mark for them if that's the issue, right? Just be like, and they have to be undivided. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like that's just totally fine. Yeah. So anyway, Besides that, I didn't have a ton of things that I wanted to clarify. I like that they moved the Gaunt Summoner on disc. If you don't know, once per game, he can just like barf up a unit of demons. And he used to be able to do 10 horrors. They brought him down to 5, which of course, because they can make blue and pinks and that kind of stuff. Cleaned up a lot of the abilities and that kind of stuff, as well as they completely revamped the prayers that go off with the War Shrine, just to kind of bring them in line with like the way that they're doing buffs and that kind of stuff. So I like that quite a bit. I had nothing negative to say about it. Apparently the Cockatrice is super good this edition. It is, because it is cheap. And let me show you my personal winner for Slaves to Darkness, because it's a model that I have and I love him. Here he is, the Fulmoride Crusher. Now, he's a 110-point model, and it's true. He is a monster, and so is the Spheranx, which is like the other Warcry monster. And I was having a discussion with actually Roko, your boy, who is an awesome. He's my personal Warhammer coach, and he was like, "Well, why don't you take that? Because it's cheaper." And I was like, "For 15 points, right? Which is the difference between the Cockatrice, the Spheranx, and the Fulmoride Crusher. Both of those are 95 points. This guy's 110. I think that the Fulmoride Crusher is the MVP. He comes in looking like a troll doll. That's true, but don't let looks fool you. So he has 10 wounds, which is great. He's a monster, but the only reason that I'm personally bringing a monster is because I want to have access to the Rampage or the Monster Rampages chart, where I can A, shut down a piece of terrain, or B, stop a unit from having orders. Okay. Question for you, Lord Veldrick. Why is 10 wounds unfortunate in your opinion? I only ask. That's why. Go ahead and throw it in the chat. I would love to see it. But the reason I love this is because his 2 abilities on his War Scroll, one is for terrain, and one is for units that he wants to crash into and hurt. So like if I see a unit that I know my opponent wants to have like different what are they called, command abilities put on them, I'm going to use on the right here. Yeah, Lord Veldek, he's not a hero, so he was never going to get Lookout Sir anyway. Let's say I see a unit of Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I'm like, I need to shut down their ability to receive commands. Like, nah, maybe not Ossiarch Bone Reapers, obviously, because they don't have command traits. Yeah, anyway, whatever unit. In your hero phase, I don't know. After this model makes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this model and roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll for that charge move. So if he rolled a 7 for his charge roll, boom, for each 6, it suffers 1 mortal wound. So he comes in there, does mortal wounds, and then at the end of the charge phase, the monstrous rampage stuff triggers, and he can shut down their ability to receive commands. If I want to focus on him shutting down opponent terrain that they may or may not be in, you have insurmountable strength. In your hero phase, pick one terrain feature within 6 inches of this model and roll a dice for each other unit within 6 inches of that terrain feature. On a 3-up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Now it is friendly and enemy. It's just units within 6 inches. So you got to think about that a little bit. But I do think between, if you're playing something against like Sylvaneth, or I'm trying to think of other factions that have big terrain pieces that they want to be around. Maggotkin wants to be within 6 inches of their terrain, kind of a thing. No, you're good. You're good, Lord Beldek. You're totally good. I get it. That's how we learn. I spent 4 hours derping my way through every rule in the game when I messed up my Path to Glory demo thing. Where it's just, yeah. Anyway, my point is, like, the two reasons that I would want to bring a cheap monster is to gain access to shutting down terrain and shutting down a particularly high priority unit from receiving orders. And he can do both of those and then also has abilities that stack on top of them. And so that's the thing where it's like, when it comes to like the Sphinx, yeah, it has a great ability. It allows, there's a potential of making a unit fight last and that kind of stuff. That's super good. I just think for 15 points, this guy is a great value, right? For 15 points, he'll do the things you want him to do, but better. Hearthstone, Shrine, Luminor, Mawpot. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those are great calls. What else? I'm not sure what the, oh man. Yeah, I already said Maggotkin. There's gonna be, one thing, I don't know if they clarified it. What? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to ask this, and I'm looking for the clarification because I'm not seeing it off the top of my head, but does that would, in my understanding, affect units that are, what's the word? When you get inside of a piece of terrain. I can't remember the name for it. I don't know why my mind is blanking right now. But the reason I point that out is because for some stuff like the Blades of Corn, now they can get inside of the shrine. Garrison, thank you so much, buddy. You nailed it. Garrison the terrain. I assume it would work on that, but whatever. I think the only real competition to the Fulmoroid Crusher is the, in terms of like value for abilities and being a monster, is the Cockatrice, because the Cockatrice is faster. So if you need him to deliver those special rules and do some light shooting, he's your dude. I feel like this one, I would just use him as a missile. Just walk straight up either towards the unit I need to shut down or the terrain, and he's good. So, yeah, I guess Lord Veldrick, that's what I was asking. Is like, I assumed the garrison units count as being within 6 inches of the building that they're hiding in, but just wanted to clarify. I feel like that's the kind of rules interaction that if I were at an event, I would, of course, assume like I just did, and the guy would be like, no, they're not actually in there, and I would have to like forfeit the game just to go buy a beer and think about my life for a second of like, he's in the building but he's not in the building. It's like Schrodinger's garrison but dumber. Okay. So yeah, there we are with the let's see. And the Mind Stealer Sphinx is a great choice. I'm not saying it's not. It is a cheap monster that can do all the things that this guy can, which is cool. So, yeah. One of the things that stands out to me, specifically about Slaves to Darkness, is their endless spells. Okay, and again, I'm just focused on this because this is the one I've read the most. But if you don't know, there is a part of the Slaves to Darkness battle tome that I think gained a significant boost. Okay, let me show it to you. Okay. We'll go to the downward cam so we can explore together. Oh wow, that is dark. Okay, I'm just gonna read this off right quick. I feel like this ability sucked in 2nd edition and has new life in 3rd. So it is the Cabalist ability. They can do a ritual at the beginning of their hero phase. And one ritual is that you take a nearby unit, you kill D3 dudes outright. It's models, it's not even wounds. And whatever amount that was of the D3, all your spellcasters get that much added to their spellcasting. So it's a buff to all your spellcasts, which is great. And that's the thing that people have been using for quite some time. But the other ritual they have access to, pick one friendly Cabalist unit within 3 inches of the wizard performing this ritual. They get hurt again. Again, D3 models die. Same thing, but then pick one predatory endless spell within 12 inches of that wizard. If one model was slain by this ritual, you can move the endless spell 3 inches. If 2 models were slain, 6 inches. And if 3 models were slain, 9 inches. Now, what that means is, now we're playing in an edition of the game where endless spells happen in 2 hero phases. Sorry, not in hero phases, but just when endless spells activate. So they activate then, and then in my hero phase, I get to pick one and do it again. Now, of course, you can move your own endless spells more. You could move your opponents to move them out of position or have them go back on their opponents, or just generally get in the way. Use their endless spells to block charge lanes. It's specifically predatory ones, so there are some limits there. But I think that on the whole, these are some stellar things. And so it's an interaction, like I said, I don't think it came up a ton before, but I see it as having real value now. And so I look at stuff. I'm going to go back to our shared screen here. Like the Dark Fire Demon Rift, which is just, it's just a metal album made into a model. Let's see. After this endless spell has moved, roll a dice for each unit that has any models it passed across, and for each other unit within 1 inches at the end of its move. So again, that would trigger again because it has moved. So you could just have him, move back an inch, move forward an inch. That's still 2 inches. If one guy dies on your D1 that you have to sacrifice, it still counts. Unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Amazing. Fueled by sorcery, add 1 to the number of mortal wounds caused by this endless spell for each other endless spell within 12 inches, which means now, let's say when you and your opponent are both moving endless spells, you specifically move this one to be closer to your opponent's. Then when it's your hero phase, you move this thing a couple of inches, and now it's doing +1 because you took one opportunity to move it closer, and you set yourself up to do more mortal wounds. So, I don't know. Also, with the new command ability, it makes the D3 mortal wounds way less harsh. Absolutely. Yeah. I will say, I was like, once I read this, I was like, okay, what's the best unit to absolutely murder in the Slaves to Darkness range that I would feel absolutely totally fine about just throwing to the wolves and getting them killed? And I'll show you my conclusion of my favorite unit to murderfy for the sake of this ability. That's the Iron Golems. Why? Because they start at Bravery 6, and if you take their banner, do the signifier, you add 2 to the bravery. So I can just sit there and shoot these guys in the back of the head, sacrifice them on the altar of awesome, and they probably won't run away. I mean, if D3 of them and they're just hanging in the back by a sorcerer, that's fine, Let's see. Yeah, if they're hanging them back with the sorcerer, and they have a pretty good save, they make good bodyguards. I was like, yeah, that's an obvious call for me. I like them quite a bit. A lot of people do go Splintered Fang because they have a chance to bring back a model. They can bring back snakes and stuff. I went with these guys. 1, I already owned them. But 2, I like the more defensive aspect to them. Like, and when I say defensive, I don't just mean like the 4-up save, which is very good amongst the Warcry warbands, I'll be honest. But also, in addition to that, the fact that they have a higher bravery. So, like, you have to remember, you're still killing your guys. So, if you fail bravery tests with your Snake Boys, the Splintered Fang, you can still lose models on top of that. And so, I want to be able to reliably have this ability at least 3 turns. And I feel like this makes that possible. So, got a chat here. NB Mole Miner, thank you so much for the tip, buddy. I really do appreciate it. Could I use a custom Kolek model? I'm not sure what that is. Is that a company? Around the size of Alariel's model as a hero anywhere, like events and so on. Oh, like could you proxy Alariel? For that you'd have to talk to the actual TO running the event. Because some of them, if Games Workshop is there at the event, like at big conventions like Nova and Adepticon, they don't really want that, simply because they want to be able to take pictures and stuff like that. So, you always have to ask your TO, tournament organizer. Sorry for those of you who are not in the lingo with the cool kids, I guess. Low key, I kind of think at least one army will have a sub faction with a command ability that lets them move one of their endless spells. Yeah, I know, I like it. I like it a lot. Owning them is a good argument for using them indeed. Exactly, yes. And I've seen the Splintered Fang thing, and I do like the concept of it. I just feel like for the exact same amount of points, these guys, they just make good bodyguards, you know? They can zone out the Iron Golem, not Golem, what are they called? The Ogre Breacher, big fat base. So if you have him, it does extend that 9-inch bubble of you can't deep strike here kind of a thing. It's not by much, of course. It's just one model. But those kinds of things matter. Untamed Beasts are still my favorite warband. They're up there for mine too, simply because of the pregame move. They can be very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. Yeah, okay, so we'll click out of that. But anyway, so I was just really thinking about that Cabalist's ability to move endless spells. And the other one here is pretty nice. It is another predatory one. This one is kind of like the Gravetide, where it starts at the caster's base almost because of how close it has to be to summon. After this spell has moved, roll a dice for each unit that has any models it passed across and for each unit within 1 inch. At the end of its movement, on a 2-up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and its move characteristic is halved until the end of the battle round. Another one that, like, if you go first in the round and you do that ability, the Cabalist thing, to move this guy around and tag multiples, you know, between when the spells actually move and this guy, man, it's nasty. Of course, this one's a little more limited. It can kind of go in one direction, but the further, you know, deep into your opponent's army you can put this endless spell where it's affecting more units is just good. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Those are the ones that excite me. Someone asked about the Comet for Stormcast, and I don't want to forget you. Okay. Endless spell has a summoning casting value of 6 and a range of 36 inches. Still a fantastic long-range bomb. After this endless spell is set up, roll a dice for each unit within 10 inches of this endless spell. On a 1, it suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 2 through 5, it's D3, and on a 6, it suffers D6. Subtract 1 from casting rolls for wizards within 10 inches. Interesting. So it no longer keeps doing damage over time. That's interesting. Yeah, the usefulness of it did change. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because I liked that the ongoing damage that it did before, because it would just basically give like a no-go zone. You know, for your opponent, you can kind of like punish folks for going into a certain part of the battlefield. It had a good board control element to it. This is still great though, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like on a 6 it should just do like D3 plus 1 mortal wounds rather than D6. It only does damage after the setup. Yeah, after this endless spell is set up, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 10 inches. Yep, and then it goes into the damage thing. So my understanding is it doesn't. What does remain is once it's planted there, it is a -1 for casting rolls for any wizards near it. So that would persist. It just, that's all it does. That's a tough one. Unless you are going to be very diligent about unbinding it or dispelling it and then bringing it in, that kind of thing. But even then, you would only get, what, 2 uses out of it, probably? I don't think it's useless. I really don't. I think if you're playing a casual game where your opponent isn't taking some of the ball-bustingly good casters like Nagash or Teclis or whatever, and you're just doing like lower level kind of heroes and Scrum, I think it still has value. I certainly wouldn't like throw it in the trash, but they did tone it down a lot, which is fine. Honestly, I know it probably feels like they're taking away some cool toys that you have right now, but you're getting a whole new book here pretty soon, so I think that will probably recoup your losses and then some. So anyway, That's my thought there. And then Battle Tome Gloomspite Gits. I'm going to be honest with you, I have never liked the way that the Bad Moon functions in terms of spaces around the table and that kind of thing. I wish there was something else. I almost prefer a Deepkin style of, you know, every turn represents the Bad Moon's going across the sky, and that you can plan for it. Electman 24. Yeah, I didn't forget about you. I didn't want you to think I did. Again, I do think it has some value. If nothing else, it's a good thing to have in your toolbox for opponents that like to brick up. Because if you plant that, you know, even though it only does stuff on its initial drop, it can still mess up a lot of units. So anyway, for the Bad Moon, never been a huge fan of that one. I'm not going to go super far into the errata. I know a lot of people were down on Gloomspite, but let's see. I want to look at what their spells do, because I will say, in terms of models, I believe that the Gloomspite Gits have the best endless spells ever. This endless spell is a predatory, can move 8 inches. After it's moved... Okay, on a 2-up it does D3 mortal wounds. That seems pretty consistent. Subtract 1 from casting rolls for wizards within 9 inches of this endless spell. Subtract 2 from casting rolls if they're within 3 inches. Okay, so another one that if this was coming at me and I was a Cabalist player, I could use my ritual ability, which is not a casting thing, to push this and punt it away so that my spellcasters can retain their bonuses. I like it. At the start of your shooting, this one isn't predatory, so it wouldn't matter, but roll a number of dice for each unit within 8 inches of the spell, equal to the number of models in that unit. For each... Okay, so it hurts people who come too close to it. And then... My good... I didn't realize they had 4 endless spells. That's cool. This is a wall of text. Let's look at the scuttling one first. Wild, crazy, hungry. As excited as I am for 3.0, I think I may be done collecting or growing my armies. Hope they expand on Warcry as a rule set, and FAQs are not making tomes and purchases obsolete. Man, I totally get that. I really do. I get it. I don't have anything for you to make it better, but I totally understand. I mean, you know, as long as you're content with what you own, you're in a great place, right? That's awesome. After this endless spell has moved, the commanding player can pick 1 unit within 1 inch of the endless spell and roll 6 dice. For each 5-up, the unit suffers a mortal wound. In addition, roll 6 dice for each unit that finishes a normal move or charge move within 6 inches of the endless spell for each 5-up. Okay, so when it moves or someone moves towards it, they take damage, which is actually really cool. The Scuttle Tide is probably one of my favorite endless spells just because, one, it's a big old freaking mass of spiders, and that's just cool. But also, probably more importantly, this is kind of board control, right? This is the opposite of the Everblaze Comet, where it has ways of doing damage and mitigating parts of the board through damage at any given point. On your turn, your opponent's turn, whatever. So I like that quite a bit. Scuttletide got hurt real bad, going from 30 points to 80. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't looked at the points at all for these guys. And the Cauldron is just a bunch of blessings. It's not predatory. Okay. A bunch of blessings for your caster. That's super cool. Yeah, these guys rock. Maybe one day I'll do a Gloomspite's army. I don't know. I have to be convinced of it. Looking at the other factions, that's pretty much all I really wanted to cover today. I'm happy to open this up for conversation here at the end of the show. Like I said, because I missed so much, I feel like I was a little bit disconnected from what was going on in the news. At the end here, I just want to say a few things. One, thank you so much to all my Patreon subscribers. You guys are amazing, and I have some fun stuff planned, including... I'm not really going to, push it right now, but I did set up a schedule where I'm going to start creating custom Path to Glory quests and missions and that kind of thing and throw them in the Patreon bin for those guys. as well as videos that have absolutely nothing to do with Warhammer and just talking about dumb crap that I like. So we'll do that too, as well as what else? I think that's about it. I'm excited this weekend. Tomorrow I'm going to Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm going to meet I'm just going to hang out at the local Games Workshop store there. It seems like great folks. And then on Sunday I have a redo with my buddy Steve to get our first games of AOS 3.0 in. Lord Veldeck, what's your Slaves to Darkness Path to Glory roster look like? I'm still working on that. I'm having trouble coming up with a 1,000 point list because they changed the base unit size for warriors from 5 to 10. It kind of left, I have 5 guys that are kind of out in the wind that I don't really know what to do with quite yet. So I'm kind of all over the place with them, but on the whole, it'll probably be like a unit or 2 of Marauders, Sorcerer Lord on Manticore, Chariots, that kind of stuff. When I have it figured out, the pieces are coming in next week for a lot of that, so I'll figure it out and I'll share it then. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out with me this fine and glorious Friday. I hope that you all have a wonderful week. It seems like I figured out Fong's Pizza is the greatest thing in the world. If you haven't heard of it, Google it. Fong's Pizza. They have a thing called the Iowan, which is amazing. Anyway, it's a Chinese pizza place. Very odd. Very cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off here, and I will catch you guys. Now that I have my stream fixed, it looks like I'll be doing more streaming this week. So anyway, I'll catch you then, and happy wargaming.